Policy boards in Nebraska wield significant influence over the state's governance, shaping public policy through a complex network of governmental, non-governmental, public, and private entities. These boards, ranging from statewide bodies like the State Board of Education to local entities, such as the Omaha Public Schools Board, play a pivotal role in directing legislative priorities, allocating tax revenues, and impacting community services. This article critically examines how these policy boards affect Nebraska's government, focusing on the interplay between non-government and private boards with their governmental counterparts, the specific roles of boards across the state, Douglas County, and Omaha, and the potential for collusion and corruption within this system. The influence extends beyond mere administration, affecting how laws are crafted and voted on in the Nebraska state legislature, and raises questions about transparency and accountability in public decision-making. Influence of non-government policy boards on government policy boards. Non-government policy boards, such as the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce and the Nebraska Farm Bureau, exert considerable influence on government policy boards by leveraging their organizational resources and membership networks. These entities, often composed of business leaders, farmers, and community advocates, elect their own leadership and use their collective voice to lobby for policies that align with their interests, such as economic development or agricultural subsidies. For instance, the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce, with approximately 30 members, collaborates with the Omaha City/County Health Department Board to advocate for health initiatives that benefit local businesses, influencing budget allocations. Similarly, the Nebraska Farm Bureau, representing around 30 members, works with the State Board of Education to shape agricultural education curricula, ensuring alignment with rural economic needs. This interaction often results in government boards adopting recommendations that reflect non-government priorities, blurring the lines between private agendas and public policy. Influence of private policy boards on public and government policy boards. Private policy boards, including the Omaha Area Board of Realtors and the Douglas County Historical Society, further complicate the governance landscape by influencing both public and government policy boards. These boards, typically composed of industry professionals or community stakeholders, 20 members for realtors, 10 for historical society, are elected internally and focus on sector-specific goals, such as real estate market stability or historical preservation. The Omaha Area Board of Realtors collaborates with the Omaha Planning Board to influence zoning laws, impacting land use decisions that affect public infrastructure. Likewise, the Douglas County Historical Society advises the Douglas County Planning Board on preserving historic sites, shaping development policies. This crossover allows private boards to steer public policy, often prioritizing member benefits over broader community interests, and can lead to government boards adopting policies that favor private sector gains. Statewide policy boards and their impact. Nebraska's statewide policy boards, including the State Board of Education 8 districts, University of Nebraska Board of Regents 8 districts 8 regions, and Public Service Commissioners 5 districts, are elected for terms of 4 to 6 years and hold significant sway over public policy. The State Board of Education, meeting quarterly on the first Thursday or Friday at 9 a.m. at 500 South 84th Street, Lincoln, oversees K-12 education for 328,724 students, influencing curriculum and funding. The Board of Regents, convening 6 to 8 times yearly on the third Thursday at 9 a.m. at Varner Hall, Lincoln, manages a $1 billion budget for 50,000 university students, impacting higher education policy. The Public Service Commissioners, gathering monthly on the first Tuesday at 10 a.m. at 1200 N Street, Lincoln, regulate utilities for 1.9 million residents, affecting energy costs. These boards shape legislation by advising the Nebraska legislature, directing tax allocations, and setting educational standards, with their decisions often reflecting input from non-government partners. Douglas County policy boards and their role. In Douglas County, policy boards like the Metropolitan Community College Board, 7 members for years, Papio Missouri River Natural Resources District, NRD Board, 11 members for years, Metropolitan Utilities District, MUD, Board, 7 members, 6 years, Omaha Public Power District, OPPD, Board 8 members 6 years, Educational Service Unit YESU, 3 Board 7 members for years, Learning Community Coordinating Council, 12 members for years, and Metropolitan Transit Board, 5 members for years influence. Local governance. The MCC Board meets on the third Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. at 5300 North 30th Street, Omaha, shaping education for 30,000 students, while the NRD Board, meeting on the second Thursday at 4 p.m. at 8901 South 154th Street, Omaha, manages water resources across 2,500 square miles. Appointed boards like the Board of Health, 9 members, Board of Mental Health 7 members, Board of Corrections 7 members, and Planning Board 9 members, address health, mental health, jail operations and zoning, respectively. These boards impact tax spending and collaborate with state entities, with non-government boards like the Chamber of Commerce influencing economic policy. Omaha Policy Boards and their effect. Omaha's policy boards, including the elected Omaha Public Schools Board 9 members for years, Omaha Airport Authority, 5 members 6 years, and Omaha Planning Board 9 members 3 years, and appointed City/County Health Department Board 9 members, Housing Authority 7 members, and Fire Board 9 members, shape urban policy. The OPS Board meets on the second Monday at 6:30 p.m. at 3215 Cumming Street, Omaha, overseeing 51,000 students, while the Airport Authority, meeting on the third Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. at 4501 Abbott Drive, manages 5 million passengers. Non-government boards like the Greater Omaha Chamber, 30 members, and Omaha Area Board of Realtors, 20 members, affect public policy through economic and real estate advocacy. These boards influence tax allocations for schools and airports, collaborating with Douglas County and state boards, impacting legislative priorities. Self-election and influence of non-government, public and private boards. Non-government, public and private policy boards in Nebraska frequently elect their own leadership, establishing self-sustaining entities that wield considerable influence over government policy across the state. This self-governance process allows these boards to operate with a degree of autonomy, selecting members who align with their specific agendas, which can range from economic growth to community preservation. For instance, the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce, comprising approximately 30 members, conducts an annual election to choose its leadership, enabling the board to lobby aggressively for business-friendly legislation that benefits its members, such as tax incentives or infrastructure improvements. Similarly, the Omaha Area Board of Realtors, with around 20 members, engages in a self-selection process to determine its leadership, focusing on shaping zoning laws to favor real estate development and property values. This internal election mechanism grants these boards legitimacy and authority, allowing them to exert pressure on government entities like the Omaha Planning Board to adopt policies that may prioritize member interests over broader public needs. The self-elected nature of these boards can lead to a disconnect, where the focus on private or sectoral gains might overshadow the general welfare, creating a dynamic where government policy boards, such as those overseeing health or education, are swayed to reflect the priorities of these non-government entities. This influence is particularly pronounced in urban areas like Omaha and rural regions where economic stakes are high, highlighting the need for careful monitoring to balance these interests with public accountability. Crossover and multiple board memberships. The landscape of policy boards in Nebraska is marked by significant crossover between non-government, private, corporate, and government entities, with individuals often holding positions on multiple boards simultaneously. This overlap fosters a network of influence that can enhance expertise, but also introduces risks of collusion. For example, a member of the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce might also serve on the Omaha City/County Health Department Board, using their dual role to advocate for health policies that align with business interests, such as workplace safety regulations that benefit chamber members. Corporate boards, such as those for public companies like the Omaha Public Power District, OPPD, or private firms, intersect with public boards like the Metropolitan Utilities District, MUD, where executives may push for utility rate adjustments that favor corporate profitability. This shared membership can bring valuable industry knowledge to public policy discussions, improving decision-making on infrastructure and services. However, it also raises concerns about conflicts of interest, as individuals might prioritize personal or corporate gains over the public good, potentially manipulating outcomes to benefit their multiple affiliations. The prevalence of such crossover is evident in Douglas County and Omaha, where board members often bridge government and private sectors, necessitating robust oversight to prevent undue influence and ensure that public welfare remains the primary focus of these collaborative efforts. Types of policy boards and their functions. Nebraska hosts a variety of policy board types, each with distinct functions that contribute to the state's governance framework in unique ways. Corporate policy boards, such as those for public companies like OPPD and private entities, are responsible for managing company operations, setting strategic goals, and ensuring financial stability, with OPPD's board overseeing power distribution for 400,000 customers. Non-government policy boards, including the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce and Nebraska Farm Bureau, focus on lobbying for sectoral interests, advocating for business growth or agricultural support across the state's $25 billion agriculture industry. Government policy boards such as the State Board of Education and the Douglas County Board of Health are elected or appointed to set public policy, managing education for 328,724 K. 12 students or health services for 10 clinics, respectively. Administrative policy boards within state agencies, like the Governor's Policy Research Office, coordinate executive functions, advising on budget and legislative priorities. Each type influences legislation and budgets differently. Corporate boards impact utility rates, non-government boards shape tax policies, government boards direct public funding, and administrative boards streamline executive actions, creating a multifaceted system that requires careful coordination to align with public needs and avoid sectoral bias. Collusion, corruption, and manipulation mechanisms. The potential for collusion and corruption within Nebraska's policy board system arises from the intricate web of overlapping memberships and the pervasive influence of private interests, presenting significant challenges to the integrity of democratic governance across the state. This complex network, comprising government, non-government, public, and private policy boards, creates opportunities for coordinated actions that may prioritize individual or sectoral gains over the public good. For instance, boards like the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce, with its approximately 30 members representing a broad spectrum of local businesses, might engage in closed-door negotiations with members of the Nebraska legislature to redirect tax funds toward business development projects, such as the construction of new commercial zones or tax incentives for corporate expansion. Such actions could come at the expense of public infrastructure projects, like road repairs or public transit improvements, which might benefit a wider population, but offer less direct advantage to chamber members. This redirection of resources highlights a potential misalignment between private interests and public welfare, a concern that resonates in a state where economic development often intersects with community needs. Private policy boards, such as the Omaha Area Board of Realtors with its 20 members drawn from the real estate sector, further complicate this landscape by leveraging their expertise to manipulate zoning decisions that maximize property profits. These boards can exert pressure on government entities like the Omaha Planning Board, influencing approvals for developments that enhance member earnings, such as luxury housing or commercial centers, potentially overlooking affordable housing demands or environmental impacts. The mechanisms facilitating such manipulation are multifaceted, encompassing undisclosed lobbying efforts where board members meet privately with legislators or city officials to push their agendas, leveraging their tax-exempt statuses to fund political activities without public oversight, and coordinating strategies among members who hold positions on multiple boards. This coordination can amplify their influence, allowing them to align policies across different entities, such as securing utility rate hikes through the Omaha Public Power District, OPPD, board while advocating for related zoning changes. Limited oversight exacerbates these risks, as the lack of transparency in board operations, often due to exemptions from open meeting laws for certain non-government activities, constrains public scrutiny and accountability. The Nebraska Examiner, a respected investigative outlet, has published anecdotal reports suggesting instances where board influence may have swayed legislative votes or shifted budget allocations, such as directing funds to business-friendly initiatives over public health programs. However, concrete evidence of widespread corruption remains elusive, with much of the documentation relying on insider accounts or indirect indicators, such as sudden policy shifts favoring specific industries. This ambiguity underscores the urgent need for enhanced accountability measures, including mandatory public disclosure of board meeting minutes, stricter lobbying regulations, and independent audits to detect and deter corrupt practices. The potential for collusion is particularly pronounced in urban centers like Omaha and rural areas where economic stakes are high, where the interplay of private and public interests can obscure the democratic process. Moreover, the risk of manipulation extends to the strategic use of tax-exempt status by non-government boards, enabling them to amass resources for political influence without the same scrutiny as government entities. Closed-door negotiations, often conducted without public notice, allow board members to craft policies that benefit their dual roles, while the lack of robust enforcement mechanisms leaves these actions unchecked. This situation calls for legislative reforms to mandate transparency, such as requiring all policy boards, government and non-government, to publish detailed agendas and minutes, and for the establishment of an oversight body to monitor cross-board memberships. Without such measures, the potential for corruption remains a latent threat, undermining the trust that Nebraska's 1.9 million residents place in their governance system, and necessitating a proactive approach to safeguard democratic integrity. Impact on tax money and legislation. Public policy boards, whether government or non-government, play a pivotal role in determining how tax money is allocated and how legislation is crafted and voted on within the Nebraska State Legislature. The State Board of Education, for example, influences the distribution of $2 billion in education funding, directing resources toward 328,724 K-12 students across 244 school districts, shaping curriculum and facility investments. The Omaha Housing Authority, managing $10 million in grants, impacts housing policy for 10,000 low-income residents, influencing municipal budgets. Non-government boards like the Nebraska Farm Bureau lobby for agricultural tax breaks, securing millions in relief for the state's $25 billion agriculture sector, which can sway legislative priorities when 33 votes in the unicameral legislature override filibusters. These boards provide data, testimony, and advocacy that guide lawmakers, often determining which bills receive support, such as infrastructure funding or education reforms, and their influence extends to public perception, shaping how tax dollars are perceived and spent. Overall influence on Nebraska. Policy boards collectively shape the governance of Nebraska, exerting influence across multiple domains from education to utilities, with statewide boards establishing broad policy frameworks, Douglas County boards addressing localized needs, and Omaha boards tackling urban challenges. The State Board of Education sets educational standards affecting 328,724 students, while the Douglas County Board of Health manages health services for 584,526 residents, and the Omaha Fire Board ensures safety for 486,051 city dwellers. Their influence permeates public perception, driving economic development through boards like the Greater Omaha Chamber, and impacts legislative outcomes by advising on bills and budgets. These boards operate both independently, pursuing their specific mandates, and in conjunction with government entities, collaborating on regional issues like water management via the Papio, Missouri NRD Board. However, transparency challenges persist, as the interplay with non-government and private boards can obscure decision-making processes, necessitating vigilant oversight to maintain democratic integrity and ensure that Nebraska's public policy serves its 1.9 million residents equitably. This critical analysis highlights the dual nature of policy boards as facilitators of governance and potential manipulators of public policy, emphasizing the need for robust mechanisms to balance their influence with the broader public interest across Nebraska's diverse communities.